Yeah, probably.
It were warmer in here on this day.
Blake, what's up?
Hey, Kevin, how's it going, man?
I'm well, sir. How about you?
Doing well, no complaints.
Awesome.
Good to see you on here, man.
You too, man. You too.
Happy Thursday, guys.
Hey, Josh.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Hi, happy Thursday.
Glad to have a great crew here. We'll probably wait another 5 minutes or so. Just typical people coming in a couple minutes after the
Happy
gun.
Thursday, Josh.
Yeah. Good to see a lot of familiar, but not as familiar as would ideally be the case faces. So,
I
go.
can't see myself here, but
Some people I haven't seen since March on the
Yeah.
podcast. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, Diane. What's up, Austin?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Just finished the KW Commercial Summit.
It was good?
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. I'll debrief you later.
Good. Today was day 3, right? The final-
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, so we wrapped up. Joe Williams, the Williams of Keller Williams, had some closing remarks. He's a character and a half. He's always telling jokes and stories about how he's the lesser known co-founder of KW.
Yep. That's cool.
Is Joe Williams still involved in like a fixed position, or does he just kind of float around?
He's an investor.
Okay.
He's still an agent or broker as well.
Gotcha.
Obviously, he doesn't have much to do with the running of KW.
Right.
But yeah, no, he's always a fixture at the commercial events and the commercial division. He's also at all the family reunions and mega camps too. He usually sits in the back. So anybody that goes to the next event that's in person, look for him in the back. Shorter gentleman, bald, a little bit older, big UT fan. He told a funny story where, he's not one for titles. So his business card just said sales associate.
Nice.
And he had a client that convinced him to put co-founder of KW. And he got those business cards and then he started handing them out. And he would get so much grief from people thinking, one, he's either dead and they were shocked to see that he was alive, or two, they thought that he was some kind of faker. And they would say, oh my gosh, I can't believe the nerve of this guy to pretend he's the co-founder. His TL must let him just do whatever he wants to do. And so he's super understated and he just lets it go. And then people surrounding him like kind of lean over to those people and say, hey, that actually is Joe Williams and he's not dead. He's standing right in front of you.
As far as I know, on
humility, baby.
Jim Blake, he's not actively managing the company.
Mhm.
And Gary always says that he should have negotiated a much better deal for Gary than he did in his agreement with him. He's got a killer deal and he makes profit, is my understanding, even if he's not active in the company, because of what Gary, his win-win negotiation with him.
Got it. That's super interesting, actually. It's
So
a
Blake, you
point.
should start a great company and then let me join with you. And then I kind of quit and give me half of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a bad deal.
I don't know what his deal is, but Gary said it's really sweet.
Yeah.
He hosted classes on Mega Camp. I actually went to them. He is a riot.
Yeah, as well. Exactly. He really is.
What's up, Austin?
What up, JJ? How are you?
Chilling, man. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you. You drinking coffee this late in the day?
Dude, a little tea, just a little tea.
All right, cool.
How's the commercial?
That was,
Summit, it was good.
talking about.
We were just talking about it. Yeah, it was really good. Solid 3 days.
Yeah, I want to rap with you about it.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the future? Bright, flat, unknown?
All of the above, Robert E. All of the above.
It's always great.
For the division, for the KW commercial division, the outlook is bright. We now have a new person at the helm with the intent of creating somebody that's more permanent. So 2021, 22, 23, we'll see some great things from KW commercial. And then, we have the same kind of market pressures that we have in residential as well. They're tweaked, obviously. But the outlook is good. And quite honestly, KW Commercial stands to be one of the top 10 commercial brokerages in the next few years. With what we've got in the pipeline, by sales volume, we should be one of the top 10. We're never going to compete against a CBRE or JLL, but we are going to get up there.
Wow,
Never
top
say
10 is
never.
big.
Yeah.
I'd never say
never.
never.
There we go.
Okay.
But, Keller Williams,
maybe right.
they laughed at Keller Williams for many years.
Yeah, definitely.
At LA, they laughed, they ignored them.
What was really interesting is to see how the commercial divisions are run or not run so efficiently throughout the rest of the country. And it's a great reminder as to the blessings that we have here in LA, because we've got so much product. We've got so much volume that we can specialize. In some of these smaller towns, like you might be the only KW commercial member in your market center and for your whole region. And you have to be a generalist because there's not enough product to specialize in office, multifamily, industrial, whatever. So really kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, we have a whole country here.
Exactly.
Totally. All right.
We're so lucky.
Any idea where we can get the recording?
Yeah, that'll be made soon, available to you soon, Kevin, because Kevin was there a few hours of the day, each day. So they're gonna send us a Google Share Drive.
Okay, good.
With the recorded links.
I never got any confirmation or email from them, so
we can talk to corporate.
All right, we're gonna get started. I just want to, first of all, just thank everyone for being on this call. Again, I've seen a number of you guys, but some I haven't. It goes without saying that we're living in a really unusual world, to say the least, a very unusual year. And I just want to say how grateful I am to be a part of an amazing family. And just seeing some of your faces, it just inspires me, as I say all the time. And it's completely the case to just bring my best every single day. And I hope that is the same for many of you, if not all of you, because, you know, as I always like to say, together we all accomplish more. And none of us is as smart as all of us. And I really do believe that. And I try to be very purposeful about creating as much collaboration and connectedness as we possibly can, because I do believe it elevates everyone. So I wanted to start off with that and just say, you know, despite the challenges that we've all been facing and continue to face, we've really accomplished so much, and that's really a function of your individual and our collective efforts. And I don't take that lightly. I don't take that for granted, and it's pretty awesome. So I want to start there, and then the design of this is really to like get a little bit reconnected. You know, some of you guys, we see each other more frequently via Zoom, some not as much. So this was an opportunity to get people together in this sort of holiday season as well. Again, express gratitude, and then really just reflect back on this year that we're still in, but closing in on the end of. And, you know, what have we learned in this like very unprecedented time? And what are some best practices and some insights we can take moving forward to continue to enhance our businesses and our lives? So that it's real simple. That's the purpose. That's the intent. And I've got some questions that I want to throw out to all of you guys, and that will start a conversation that I expect to be, you know, interactive. So, you know, with that said, I want to show a couple of slides that Blake has, that Blake and I worked on to present, and just sort of create a little bit of a framework, and then throw out a couple questions to you guys, and then let the conversation flow organically. So does that, hopefully that sounds good to everyone. And here we go. So I know this data is a little small at the bottom, so don't worry so much about that. But this is basically a graph and a chart of what the MLS looked like in LA County year over year, basically taking January through November, because we don't have December data yet, in 2019 versus 2020, versus Keller Williams Beverly Hills production. This is all closed volume for that same, you know, month over month, year over year comparison. So if you look at that blue line, which is the LA MLS, if you look at January, February, and March, and you can see, and it's basically based on the percent change. Again, January of 2019 versus January of 2020. So you look for LA County, January was stronger in 2020 than it was the January of 2019 by 44%, right? And that's what's reflected in that chart, right? So if you look at LA County, January was better this year. February was better. March was a little bit better. Then you see April, May, June, quite a bit less. And then July, August, September, October, November were stronger for the greater MLS in 2020 versus 2019 month over month. Then you look at that compared to Keller Williams Beverly Hills, and we were down for the first, 7 months. And then basically starting in, August? Yeah, August, September, October, November, we were ahead of ourselves versus the prior year's month. Does that make sense, guys?
The flat line is a up over last year, and below flat line is below?
Correct. You got it. Yep.
So my question is, why did we run below the average of the county?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just being, I was hoping we did, other than 1 month, which was October, right? You see October, we were ahead of as a percent growth.
So that chart says we're underperforming. We're not
Correct.
even, our boats sinking faster than the average. So I wish I would have seen this a little sooner to push a little bit harder.
Yep. And I wanted to be, I want to be always very transparent. There's many things to glean from this, but one is certainly what Robert just pointed out, that we're underperforming the market for the most part, other than 1 month. On the other hand, the bright side is that we are, ahead of ourselves versus last year for the second half of this year. So we've got some good positive momentum. And also just big picture, you can just see what's gone on, in our market, right? I mean, I'm sure that comes as no surprise, but, basically starting in April, April and May were way down, right? Both for the market as a whole and our office. And then things started to change, really starting in July, and then of course, August, and then September. So the market is also very robust right now, as we all know. So I think that's a big takeaway. Like, where are we now? And then, what kind of momentum have we created as a market and as an office to take that into 2021? Go ahead, Robert.
We are definitely comparing apples to apples, and leases and everything is in here. This is a definite accurate between the two.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know how much impact leases.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Past years, we trended over the county, didn't we? Haven't we consistently been over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we need to pivot a lot more under COVID. Yep. We're not handling as well as everyone else. That's what this says. We're something's happening here during COVID. Now, it could be something else. But it looks like a causal link between the two. But I mean, there could be something in between that I'm missing, obviously.
Yeah.
Josh, how many agents did we have at the beginning of Jan 19 versus Jan 20?
That's a good question, because to Justin's point, you could talk about productivity per agent, right? Which is Blake, do you have? I don't know that we have that right in front of us. It's on the multi-year trend report.
But I would guess LA County also dropped if it dropped. We're usually much more tenacious than the market as a whole. So, I look at it from that point of view. So whether it's just 5 more minutes of intensity a day, or 10 more minutes for each one of us to make a difference, that will make a big difference. It's just a little bit more push makes a difference in a group.
Yep.
As the whole grows, that doesn't mean that productivity is going to grow in parallel. So I look at it like, what resources do we need more attention to? That's going to help the agents be more productive, feel better what they're doing, and that directly correlating to close revenue.
Yep.
So I think it'd be important to get kind of a questionnaire going. If we're at, how many agents are we at right now? 520?
I think we're right at, I think literally I asked Alfredo this, I think we're at 497.
Okay.
Yep.
So
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is it possible that the homes that have been selling are in the lower end of the price point? Is it possible that since we have a lot more over 2 million, that we're just running lower, below, only because by default, everything over 2 million is already slow, and it's not the office, it's just a price point. Is that possible?
Well, I mean,
everything's possible.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility.
We did great. The office did great. We just could have done better. We're behind our overperforming versus the LA County. We consistently beat them. So that's all I'm looking at. The fact that
Maxwell, there's a lot of, it's a great question, quite frankly, because what it doesn't say is what's the average, price point year over year, right? Because that could influence, like our production could be down, but our units could be up. So we could be doing, you know what I mean? So this is dollar production, not price, it doesn't factor in the price point. So that could be a rationale behind it. So there's a lot of layers to this. I wanted to give just a broad snapshot, because obviously the intention of this particular meeting is just to give you, just to lay some groundwork, but to really get into best practices, because I'm going to ask you a couple questions in a minute and open that up. But I wanted to at least give some broad overview of some of the data, just so you guys can get some sense of broad trends for the market as a whole. And we're going to show you another slide in a second, and then basically how our office is doing. I want to be transparent. Like, it's funny, I had a meeting earlier with Paul, and he was just talking about Gary Keller. I forget the context we were talking about, but Gary's always just very honest and transparent, and doesn't, I always say, don't attach yourself to an outcome, but show the data and let the data tell the story. So I wish the story, it's not like bleak, but we are underperforming in this metric, the market, and I want to make sure we change that. So
the good thing is we see it, and we have room for improvement. That's the good point. We can improve.
To Robert's point, you can't improve what you don't measure, right? And if you're not aware of where you are, then how do you improve with purpose? So this gives us a sense of where we are, and now we've got to figure out what the solution is to continue to raise the bar, which is completely my commitment to all of you guys. So with our team. So Blake, do you want to show the next slide there, because it's also pretty interesting that I think you guys will. And I'll let everyone process this, but it should be fairly, self-explanatory. This was as of mid-November. So this is that, as of that point in time, this is what the data reflects. And it's probably going to be no surprise to most of you guys, but clearly the inventory is down relative to last year, and clearly the days on the market are, quite a bit shorter than they were last year at every price point. Right, and our average price point in this office is right around $1.5 million. Obviously, we deal a very, very wide range, but just that, hopefully that gives you a little sense. But you can see how significant, how things are moving a lot more quickly. The demand is very strong, low interest rates, and still, pretty low inventory. Any comments or questions on that?
I think it's just what you said, Josh, the lack of inventory. I mean, people forget that in April, everything just kind of abruptly, stopped. I had so many sellers on the sidelines. Even still, it's just like, that seems to be kind of like the story of the year. And 40 offers on a home, 39 other people don't get it. But I think it's directly correlated to the lack of inventory in the market.
Yep.
That's just
I would quickly add, in the last 10 days, I'm getting those come list me calls, a lot of them right now. And I expect if I'm getting 5 or 6 of them where they just listed with me, just walked right in for the first time. The first part of the year, it was a cat fight. But right now, it just seems like people are calling me. Even I may leave this call early. I'm on call for meeting a client as they drive home to go look at an estate house. But it's happening. So I would say pick up those listings, be ready for, because it seems like a lot of come list me calls are coming in. So that would predict a little bit of an increase in inventory. But again, price it well, get it sold, and just be moving.
Yep. Anyone else before I move on to some of these questions? All right, let's do it, Blake. So this is a broad question that hopefully will get us, and I put it up on the screen here, and I just want everyone to think about this, and then I'm going to take some volunteers, and hopefully we'll start a really good conversation with this being the starting point. So who wants to start us off?
I'll go because it's really simple and easy. I don't know how great of an impact it had, but I started shooting video walkthroughs and narrating, and it's nothing that I've ever done in the past because I don't really care to be on camera or to have my voice out there. But I did it, and I got quite a few compliments from potential buyers and leasees who thought that the walkthrough was amazing. And yes, I will continue to do it moving forward because I think that all buyers and people who lease are going to expect it now.
Very cool. Any comments on that, guys?
Josh, I believe that the new way of virtual or social media way of doing business has helped everybody through these challenges to become more efficient. Instead of you traveling like 40 minutes, 45 minutes to go somewhere or come back, especially with the meetings, you can do them through Zoom. And instead of 1 or 2 meetings, you can have 5 meetings a day. So I think that has brought a lot of positive notes to our businesses. And I think we can maintain that even next year, I'm sure we'll go back to more of a normal way of living. But if we can keep that into our business, it's going to keep us a lot more productive with our time going forward. So I think that's one of the good impact or positive impact of this situation.
Yeah, where Zoom will become, a normal sort of lever or normal platform. It won't be the only one, which is, or the predominant one necessarily, but it'll be one that will be used like periodically, I guess is that, yeah. Because I think, we all hear Zoom fatigue, and I've some of it myself, but nevertheless, there is a lot of practical value in Zoom.
And it's more acceptable with people, like going past this time. I think people will be more open to it rather than having in-person meetings.
Yep.
Adding to what Rhonda said, Rhonda brought up a really good point about the videos. That is something that's here to stay. So it's really important that we get comfortable with it. And if if as an agent, if you get a bunch of questions from a client, it can be pretty powerful just to pull out your phone and just take a quick video and create a video message for the answer. So people will always want to watch something rather than read something. So that's something that's definitely going to be a trend of next year is using video in even just answering questions. And so that's something to kind of consider. And it creates this touch point where your client has a visual interpretation and you feel more connected to the client, even if you're not physically talking to them or in person as well.
Yeah, and along the video line, and maybe I'll defer to Blake for a minute on this too, but on social media videos, they get a lot more. The algorithm works a lot more favorably for video, right, Blake? I mean, I'm 99% sure of that.
Absolutely, yeah. Just as far as organic content, right? Video is always going to play better. So if you're doing a video walkthrough of the house, right, it's obviously going to get a little bit more engagement than a photo or two, for sure.
Yeah, beyond the obvious personal connection, which to Justin's point is a lot more powerful via video than a picture or voice. But clearly, again, there's favoritism on social media as well. So again, to Justin's point, and Rhonda's, if you're not comfortable and you're not using video regularly as just a typical part of your business, I highly encourage you to start to adopt that now.
Yeah, Josh, back in 2016, there was looking ahead of the curve, there was a trend of starting using voice chat or voice text message rather than just sending a text message, and video also came in at the very end before the pandemic. And I think this pandemic definitely enforced that so people can use it easily. Instead of sending a quick text, send a quick video. I say, hey, this is Nick Drew, and responding to your text or your email, they see your face, and that has a lot more responsive rate than just sending a text or an email. So I think that came before the pandemic, and pandemic enforced it, the use of it in our market.
Is anyone doing that now? I've thought about that, where they just typically respond to someone with a video as opposed to a text. You do, and it's effective, Nick?
Very much so. It's very different. Probably 1 out of 100 people do that, or maybe 5 out of 100 people do that. So it's very effective, different way of branding yourself, just showing your face, because it's more emotion than just a couple of texts. So you inject the emotion, and people respond to emotion a lot more than just text or email. So I think that's
awesome.
That's
and everything, it becomes a habit if you do it with consistency, right?
Very easy, very easy. It's as easy as sending a text.
And you could also respond with an audio file. So it doesn't have to be a video. You could just, I get that a lot from clients. I started doing it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I see a number of people do that. Yep.
Hey, Nick, I'm curious if you respond to videos, does someone respond back to you with a video or no? They send you a text?
I've had like probably 1 out of 10. They find it very, very intriguing and they respond back. But most of them, they respond back with text, but they acknowledge that they really enjoyed the video. But most of them, they respond back in their own way. But for them, it's very intriguing.
Yeah, and it's another way of distinguishing yourself and branding yourself, which is
exactly
such a big part of our business. I can't.
There is a program that came in before pandemic. It's called BombBomb, and that was the platform of this video texting, which came in. My coach Tom Ferry invested in it, and it became very big. So instead of they said that video is the new way, and that was back in 2016, and now we know that going through the pandemic. Whoever used it back in 2016, by the time pandemic got around the corner, they were really good at it. So they went all in and they captured a lot of market. So I think that's something that came in before pandemic.
We talked about BombBomb at the KW Commercial Summit, not at length, but we did mention and have a brief discussion and how it's becoming integral to a lot of commercial brokers' touch series for their clients.
Brandon Miller uses that constantly. It's very effective. I always watch his little videos, and it says the length of the video, which is great. It's like a 1-minute video. You can stomach that. It's easy to digest.
And it's personal to your client, which is very effective.
Coming back to that question that I asked, what is the one thing you have learned or done this year that has had the greatest impact on your business? Who else wants to give us their thoughts on that?
For me, it would be being aggressive with my pop buys. I've made sure that every single month since August, I've been doing pop buys with my clients. And so it's been able to break a lot of barriers with people that I was prospecting with to become my clients after the third pop buy. And it's helped build that relationship that maybe if they were, warm, it's turned them into a hot lead. And so my business is actually growing substantially, like big giant leap, especially beginning next year, because I was able to do that through the pandemic. And I plan on doing that for just in general for my businesses, doing pop buys every single month moving forward, because it's just helped my business grow so much.
Stephanie, can you explain what that exactly is for those?
So with pop buys, like I'll bring some sort of present. So like I did the movie night thing that I watched from, I think it was Mega Camp. And so basically I would bring like this whole movie night package that I made with like a Netflix and Hulu printout. And so I would bring it to the clients and I'm like, hey, I know you're bored at home. So I thought I'd bring this by so you guys can have a fun family night, or like a pumpkin pie last month. This month is gingerbread house kit. So it's just different things that they can do with their families. And like, they really enjoy it. And I always put my business card attached to whatever pop by that I do. So they're starting to refer me business, or themselves, they're doing business with me. So it's just helped build that relationship very strong.
Now, do they know you're coming? Like, how does that work?
That was my question.
I call them, I text them ahead and I'm like, hey guys, I send a screenshot of whatever I'm popping by with that month. And then I send it over in a text to them. And I'm like, hey, I made this for you. Or I have this for you, was thinking of you. When is a good time for me to come by and drop this off?
Interesting.
That's better, because at least you can gauge if somebody, would say, I'm not comfortable.
Right, that's right, yep.
Then you leave it up to them to do it. But if they're like, okay, that's great, leave it on the porch, they could decide.
And how often, Stephanie, are you actually interacting with them when you pop by?
Once a month so far. So
how often of the times you pop by, what percentage of the people that are you dropping it off and not seeing them, or are you actually spending time with them? Like, how does
I spend time with them? Yeah, like, because I mean, obviously like 6 feet or more apart, because I'll like put it on their door and step back. And we'll have conversations. It could be a conversation from like 5 minutes, or it could be a conversation for 30 minutes. It just depends. But I just touch base with them, not only like always sending them emails or some sort of thing for what they're looking for or what they're planning on doing, but also, you know, that in-person interaction with me gifting them something that's really like helped take my business to the next level.
Very cool.
Is it the same people each month? Like, do you bring like one family, like something each month, or do you change the people you go to each month?
It's usually it's the same people, but I do add on as I get to meet more people, depending on, you know, with prospecting.
How much do you think you spend a month on it, on the ingredients for your gift?
So this month I got like 10 gingerbread houses, and it was like from Target, and it was like 110, something like that. So that would be more on the expensive side, where like the movie Popeye kit was like, I had to shop around, but it was like about $7.50 a pop. So
okay, interesting.
Hey, Stephanie, if you're thinking about dropping off briskets anytime soon, I'm going to text you our address. Feel free to come on by.
That's a great idea.
Great stuff.
Don't be shy.
Who else? What's the one thing you've learned or done this year that has had the greatest impact on your business? And again, it could have been something you've done before, or it could be something new.
I'd like to say that the pandemic has caused the rents to soften across the board in commercial real estate, whether it's multifamily, office building, medical, or shopping centers. Retail has been hit harder than multifamily. There are a number of uncollected rents due to COVID. Vacancies are up. Rents are approximately anywhere from 20 to 15% discounted. So it gives us an opportunity to approach those sellers that either have some few properties, smaller properties that in the past has been ease of management and occupied. Now they're having difficulty collecting rents, and now they're having difficulty with renting their vacancies, or approaching the larger investors that have the syndicators with many investors that having the same problem. And I see that more sellers along those lines in the marketplace. At the same time, I see that there are buyers that want to take advantage of the current low interest rate marketplace to buy properties, understanding that this soft market, rental market, is not going to last. Once UCLA with 45,000 students come back, hopefully in the fall, the rental will be back to normal. So there are additional sellers, additional buyers due to the COVID. And I think that I've had the opportunity to talk to both sides of the equations and make some deals along those lines.
I mean, how are you identifying those people? Like, what are you proactively, because I know you're very purposeful and proactive. What are you doing and what would you advise others on this call, whether it's, again, commercial and or those principles, you know, to some degree apply to residential as well? What are you proactively doing to identify those people? How are you engaging them?
Well, I have a database that identifies each and every property in the A and B location of the west side, going from Hollywood to the ocean. And I've been operating on that, modifying it and making corrections to the database. And having been around, I know people that have larger syndications and larger properties. I approach those first because due to the increase in prices, there is a lot of profit to be taken. And some of those investors or The managers of the LLCs want to take some of the profit off the table, given the present COVID marketplace. So my approach to those buyers and those sellers is pretty specific to what I do and what I have been doing. In general, what I can recommend is to anyone, take a pocket of the area, Hollywood, Valley, wherever, that's manageable, and call.
Yep. And Hamid, I know Hamid well, just very purposeful about what he said about the database, like your database, like mine your database. Do you have a database, and are you communicating with it on a consistent, systematic, regular basis, right? I know we talk about it all the time, but that, I mean, there's so much value that's right in front of you if you're purposeful about, connecting with it. But it's not going to happen magically. You got to, put it in your calendar and schedule it and do it with consistency, and then hopefully automate it as well. But even without automating it, are you proactively reaching out to it? So,
yeah, the value of databases is a key to being successful year in and year out. A consistent success comes from a systematic approach to commercial real estate. And that means
residential real estate, by the way. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, that means that you have to brand yourself to a certain clientele. Now, whether it's a cash flow properties in the San Fernando Valley, or pride of ownership or appreciation in Beverly Hills, whatever the case is. Or maybe you just want to specialize in medical buildings. Whatever the specialty is, you have to collect a database of owners. Something around, I'd say manageable would be around 800 to 1,000. More than that is not manageable. Less than that is too little. And continue to communicate with them with important material that's important to them, and brand yourself. Then when you do a call, it's no longer a cold call, it's a warm call.
Yep, well
said. Hamid, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How do you connect the dots between you're calling someone that you know that owns a property that wants to get out because the rental market is soft? So their motivation is because the market is not good. How do you connect that to putting somebody in that same driver's seat to a market that is soft?
Well, the connection is as follows, that from a seller side, the motivation is that they see that this pandemic is persisting. They're not used to it. They are changing management style to address, they address the vacancies, and they want to either unload some of their properties, lighten up, or just get out if they're older. From a buyer standpoint, they understand that this pandemic is not going to last forever. Real estate holding is for years and years. So if you're a 5-year, 7-year hold, you want to take advantage of this pandemic, and because the rents are lower, you pay less for the property and take additional advantage of the low interest rates. The multifamily, you can finance it for low 3s today. So there are different motivations on both sides. And as a broker, you got to mash the two together.
Different time horizons, different motivations, as Hamid just said. Win-win, right? And you're a matchmaker. Awesome.
And, and that mirrors in residential as well, right? When you list a home for sale, where are they going to go live? So you always want to be thinking one step ahead. And with commercial, with 1031 exchanges, as Hamid mentioned, some of our older clientele, they're done with the management intensive investments. And so getting into a different asset category, like a triple net, where the tenant pays for everything literally, and you just get a check, you have that migration path. So it's very similar to residential. There's just a few nuances there.
Yep, great stuff.
Another question for Hamid. Hamid, if you have a client, like say with $2 million that wants to invest in this market, which category would you send them to? Would that be multifamily? Would that be retail, office space, or medical buildings?
Medical buildings are typically sought after by medical people, doctors that want to have their own office and be an occupier. Smaller office buildings, the same. Usually they want to occupy anywhere from under 30,000 feet office buildings. They want to occupy all of it or a portion of it. And the motivation for those people is to take advantage of the current market, that the rents are lower, values are lower, financing is cheap, and therefore get into it. Multifamily is the easiest of all of the commercial real estate to operate, understand. It's really an extension of owning a house. Not the shopping center is more difficult, the leases are more difficult and to understand and operate. Multifamily is easy. It's a darling of the industry. Lenders understand it, buyers understand, sellers understand. Approximately the investment community prefers 75% of the investment community goes to multifamily, 25% to all the rest of the commercial, including industrial. So multifamily, because it's got such a huge demand for it, and the supply and demand is huge. Number of brokers are in there, of course. But if you want to deal with a multifamily, the due diligence period is easy. What do you got? Income and expense and leases. Look at the units. Rents are what they are. You can finance it, close within 45 days. And it's an easy operation. From a seller standpoint, it's easy to operate. Buyer, same, and the lender. So a lot of brokers are in there to crowding the marketplace.
Cool. Thank you, Hamid.
Sure.
Who else on, and then we'll move on to a couple other things that I wanted to ask. Who else on what's the one thing you've learned or done this year that has had the greatest impact on your business?
I would say just be flexible and expect the unexpected. We're going to keep pivoting and going through changes as we go through this COVID. And on top of that, just do everything with speed. It's an old school, but speed seems to close a lot of deals. There's deals we lost because there was an hour difference between us and another realtor. So I would say stay fast, move fast.
So Robert, give me an example of how you've been flexible and what you've done to pivot.
I keep my mind open. Whatever it needs to be done, I'm gonna pivot into it. Like water coming down a mountain, each time I'm gonna get down to the bottom differently, but I'm not gonna be like a bulldozer and hit a tree and get stuck. I'm not gonna do a one path makes it for everyone. So I'm open to being flexible, and it's quite stressful. It's quite stressful because you gotta be able to pivot when you need to. At listing appointments, I have a guy that said, hey, look, I want to see if this other agent's going to bring a buyer. I said, look, we can sign it right now and just give me the name and we'll exclude this guy. We won't lose any time. After a long conversation, he did sign on the spot. But it's seeing all these other things that just pop up along the way and then overcoming them and being flexible in your attack and your negotiation.
And you feel like you've done things differently. Again, I come back to like, give me a specific of what you've done differently since the pandemic that you weren't doing perhaps before.
Well, we were testing virtual by appointments, and I didn't see a strong result from that. But that's probably one of the pivots, because we can't do open houses, which is a strength for a lot of agents. So that's been taken away. I do predict the open houses will come back. I don't know if it's 3 months, 6 months, but at least 6 months out, it should be back, as we have a vaccine going to be released in a few days in the US finally. Canada just adopted, and we'll be one of the last ones. But a few days, it'll start trickling out.
Can I ask David Martinez? You're on a successful team, you know, part of Lee Ziff. And how are you? Because normally you're a fixture in the office. You know, you were there all the time. Now, obviously, you know, working from home. How has it been? You know, what have you been doing differently with Lee that he's had to do during this time? Not to put you on the spot, just. You know.
But he's putting you on the spot.
You know, a lot like what our buddy Robert Howell was saying, man. You got to just adapt and shift and keep moving forward. You know. It was extremely hard for me because I am very much a routine person. And so what I did was I kept my routine. It was through March, April, May, June, especially I was just working from home and still kept my mindset every day on, you know, getting up at the same time, breakfast same time, shower, and I would literally be in a suit, not leaving the house every day at the same time. You know, luckily we started going back into the office in June, and really started hammering the database. We made a goal for the end of the year to get through. We've got like 6,000 people in our database, and to go through our database and clean it up. And we have a daily call where we say, okay, how many people we're doing today? What time are we doing it? Okay, report, shoot me a text. Okay, starting database calls right now, hitting, you know, just did my 75 or 150 or what have you. I could tell you in the office, we always say we're going to do that, but we never got to it because just the hustle and bustle of real estate just kind of pulled us off of that prospecting game. So we stayed really solid on that. And we have 3 calls a day. We have an early morning call, we have a midday check-in, and then we have an end of the day call. And I sit here, I've got my checklist of everything that we've got to do throughout the day, and I just go through it one by one. So I think just adapting, and it's kind of helped us streamline our business a little bit as far as saying, wow, we can make calls, we can stay on top of these deals and what have you.
So just keeping structure, I think, is
mindset is everything. Yep. I used to coach with Steve Shaw, and I tell you, I about 2 to 3 times a week, I go back and I listen to a lot of these Steve Shaw recorded calls on mindset. Because I feel myself once in a while kind of straying away and getting unfocused, and I keep hitting these, reminding myself of the fundamentals of what our business is about. And just staying at the mindset's really important for me.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thanks.
Who else on the one thing, and then I'm going to throw out one more time until we get a complete pause. The one thing that you've learned that has really most impacted.
Hello.
George.
I would say adaptability. I'm able to adapt under crazy times and just to remain calm under crazy circumstances. I think it's during these times, it's really more challenging to remain calm. If you remain calm throughout the deal, you will accomplish more.
So is that specific to like when and your audio is not great, George? I don't know if you're able to adapt that a little bit. No pun intended. We heard you, but it was so you're speaking specifically with clients that may be anxious and just about what's going on in this world, and obviously deal specific things. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I meant.
And how, is that just a matter of you being, I'm a big believer in being knowledgeable. I think that helps you, gain confidence and both within yourself and obviously with your clients. What else are you doing to make sure that you remain calm and you be sort of, the voice of reason?
Research. I think if I don't know something, I will really do a lot of research. I don't just give information to provide information. I just do, if I'm in a doubt of something, I do research. I'll ask my peers. Yeah.
Yep. Great point. Anyone else on something that's really impacted their business this year?
Josh, something very strongly this year that happened was the care calls that we started making after the pandemic. I think that gave everybody permission to ask deeper and establish a deeper connection with the clients. Because I think everybody wants to deal with somebody that feels that they care about them before they move on to the next stage. I think this for me was, I felt like the room was open for me to get deeper with people, get to know them more, ask more intimate questions, and establish a deeper relationship with them compared to the prior years that it was more kind of in the surface relationship just for the business. I feel like I've managed to establish a deeper relationships that secures a longer relationship with my clients.
I think that's such a powerful point that this gave us a reason. However, that reason could exist forever if we choose it to, right? And to Nick's point of like, people do business with people they trust and who they like, right? And how do you gain that trust and that connection? You ask deeper questions and you listen. Like whenever I'm, quite frankly, at recruiting appointments, first thing I talk about is just their lives, having nothing to do with business. Where they grow up, what's their family dynamic, what are their passions, what are their interests? And that's how you start to build that connection and that trust. And I think, again, to Nick's point, I think the pandemic gave us an opportunity to more naturally go there, but we can go there no matter what's going on in our worlds if we choose to, and that's our approach. So I think there's a great lesson to be learned in that, to really just start to build those deeper connections on a personal level that will ultimately engender trust.
And Josh, to continue with that too, that most of us probably won't be getting the vaccine, until probably mid next year till the summer. So we can continue these conversations as people start trickling at the vaccine. This could, how you doing? How's it working? I mean, we know healthcare workers and stuff. So it's, there's this could definitely continue at the whole different level of the vaccine, the different phase that we can continue the same conversations.
Yep. And then it is about the conversations. Are you proactively creating the conversations, right? So without that, none of this matters, right? And that's just not going to be proactive, don't be reactive. I mean, I'm always saying that, right? If you're just waiting for it to fall in your lap, some of us, that can be good, but it can always be better when you're proactive, no matter what level of business you're doing. Yep. So let's come back to we talked about, no open houses. Robert mentioned that, and it was one of my fundamental questions. Like, what else are no open houses? There's, obviously very limited, really no door knocking per se. Like, what are you guys doing from a lead generation standpoint to create more conversations, to create more appointments? What are you doing to adapt on that front?
I've just started doing proper Facebook ads. And actually, just kind of more of a general point as well. I think the systems that have changed recently are kind of here to stay. There was an interesting piece on NPR actually just recently talking generally about businesses that had technology and an online presence already, and that their businesses had moved forward a year for every month of the COVID crisis, whereas people that haven't been kind of investing in online and these new kind of systems are getting left behind. And it amazes me even now, you look at the MLS, the number of agents that aren't even doing 3D walkthroughs on their listings. It just blows my mind. So I think the real estate industry over the past 6 months has come forward probably 3 or 4 years in terms of technology, and the technology is not going away. So I think really understanding stuff like the algorithms of Facebook ads, like running 3 ads at once consecutively and then choosing the one where the algorithm is actually picking up the most kind of hits on it, getting rid of the 2 after the first 24 hours, and then let that one run. And then you up the daily limit as well, so that you're on top of the kind of spending amount for the algorithm also. It's amazing. It's to see how it actually works, and looking at the analytics of it, I think it's actually, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to kind of increase, I think, in the business.
Powerful, Jan, spot on. Love it. Anyone want to comment or ask questions regarding that? Because I think clearly the online presence is such a big deal in this market. Rob, were you gonna?
Yeah, I can answer that. I can say for myself during this period of time, I've really pivoted and locked in on really, embracing technology even more from a standpoint of automation. You can only spend so much time on the phone, and what I found through automation, using the command system, and I invested in another technology that allows me to engage with expires and sell by owners from automation via text and email and voicemail. We're generating leads daily. Now, a lot of these people aren't ready. It starts conversations, and that's what you want. If you can start multiple conversations, now we're starting to get more listings here towards the year. I just picked up another one yesterday off of the automation process. So it's like pivoting and focusing more on dialing in automation and really like command. We've been running leads now for almost 6 months. And what's great about command is it's telling us what leads are performing the best, where is the best place to spend your money. And we're just doubling down on lead generation and filling up our database with these opportunities to have more conversations with these individuals. And then I'm teaching the team how to have these conversations on a daily basis and then work towards converting these people to our pipeline report and then just continuing to follow up with them. So I think embracing technology is really important, especially during this time period, and leveraging really what we have. And you and I had this conversation from a KW standpoint. I don't think there's enough emphasis being put on the power of the technology that KW is investing billions of dollars in when it comes to attracting talent. And that's huge as we go forward as agents in this industry. That's just my personal opinion.
Great point, Rod. I know it's a little hard to hear. I got it all. Blake, do you want to just summarize that a little bit, even on the command front? Because I know Rod's been highly invested in like the lead accelerator and buying ads on Blake, why don't you comment if you can?
Yeah, no, it's just having that consistency. Like Rod has done really good at just kind of saying this is what we're doing, and 100% of the time he has ads running, and so leads are coming in on a daily basis. And then even more importantly, right, what he said about the automation aspect to it, right? It's having, right, in command they're called smart plans, but that follow-up that's just going to happen automatically. Because when you're generating leads daily and you have Rod's generated probably 600 leads at this point, you can't communicate with them all the time. So when you have these smart plans running, they're pretty much prospecting for you. So you end up checking your notifications and you're seeing people engaging in those conversations first. With these Facebook ads, you're paying for the opportunity to have real estate conversations. And when you're doing it at scale like this, it starts to come a little bit more naturally. Yeah, definitely applaud for what Rod's doing on that.
And funny, Blake and I were in a recruiting meeting yesterday, demoing command, and I think Blake had logged on to your thing, and we were seeing the leads come in, and Blake's like, I hope Rod's responding to this guy. Like literally, it was funny. So there's a lot. Look, and I'm the first to tell you, command still, a work in progress. Blake and I talk about this on a daily basis, but there's tremendous value in it. And it always comes back to also what Rod referenced, playing the long game, like recognizing that what you do now will not have implications for, sometime in the future, whether that's 2 months from now, 3 months from now, or a year from now. So are you playing the long game? Are you planting the seeds now that will ultimately harvest down the road? And a lot of people just don't have that foresight to do that, but they're not the ones that are going to achieve at the highest levels. Great stuff, Jan and Rod. Who else on the lead gen front, in light of like no open houses, no door knocking, anything else that anyone else is sort of doing that they are seeing that's working, that they're going to continue to do, into the future?
I mean, you and I sat down not too long ago when I came over to the office, Josh, and I had a specific question for you. And I was like, should I add more lead gen to my, lead gen? And I'm sure you remember that. And I think being consistent, and a word that you use that I love is purposeful, tracking everything that I'm doing for the past few months, making calls. Like I just got done doing, a ton of calls before this, tracking the number of calls, the number of conversations, appointments. I mean, just being consistent in my efforts and even in my physical health has just been huge for me, and something that I needed to do for a long time. And I think it's already paying dividends in my business, but I will definitely continue to do it because I think it's part of a new just kind of DNA that I'm creating with all my habits. And I think that's the key. It really is.
Yeah. And coming back to what Kevin said, consistency, and pick what you do well and just go all in on it and be consistent about it. Doesn't mean, and don't, go go narrow and go deep. I'm a big believer in that. Like, don't try to do it all.
That was huge to me when you said that.
Yeah, figure out what works best for you such that you're going to do it on a sustainable basis, because that's what's going to be most effective, and that's unique for everyone.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Something that we started doing beginning of COVID was because we have a really huge referral-based business, and not only from past clients, but from realtors around the nation and world. So we started doing what we called our Genius Agent interviews, where we would set up these Zoom calls, and Lee would interview agents. We interviewed agents from Istanbul, from Dubai, from London, Belgium. And like next Wednesday, everyone is here, obviously invited. It should be on the calendar. We're going to do a interview on ski resort agents, the luxury high-end agents in 3 different ski resorts, and see how their market's going, like who's buying in, are people using Airbnbs, and just kind of get an idea. And we use those a lot in our business to create these relationships. So if someone's moving to LA, you got to call Lee, you got to call us. So we really started hammering that down this year too. And those interviews have been really good. And we had 2 Zoom calls today. We had, I forgot who they were, a lady from Chile we talked to, and we talked to Megan, that's right, a team from Paris.
So David, are you putting those on social media? Are you streaming them live on Facebook?
I don't even have a social media. I don't have Facebook or Instagram or anything. I got a Strava if you want to watch me run in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage you to.
We're really lacking on the social media front.
Yeah. So yeah, think about just doing the same effort and putting it on, Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
I think.
We've been talking about that for years now on creating the social media presence. And we need to get someone to take over on that, because I don't think either one of us have that.
Yeah, and you bring out a great point, what you just said. If you know you're not going to do it, which I get it, because there are certain things I know I'm not going to do that I really should do.
Mm-hmm.
Find someone to do them for you. Pay someone to do them. That's it. I mean, that's leverage. Don't try to do it all. But if you know there's certain things that are really going to help your business and your world, find someone else to do them for you. I cannot impress that enough. It's such a simple concept, but that's key. That's leverage.
Yeah, we definitely need someone for that.
Yep.
For sure. Cool.
Anyone else on that question? On what else, are they doing from a lead gen standpoint? That's maybe new and unique, or maybe not so unique, but new to you, that you're going to continue to do into the future.
I wanted to second something on what David Martinez said on mindset. Under this COVID, mostly stay at home, there is a mindset fight that all of us are doing, where there's a dullness around us in an environment, and it's staying as sharp as you can be and staying moving forward through all this pressure and distraction, and it's a dulling of our senses, so to speak. So you have to almost constantly fight that to keep moving forward, knowing that this thing will change and we'll be fine. But at the same time, doing whatever it takes to make the next deals happen. But it's a strong mindset fight. It's not easy. It is not easy. You can doubt yourself quite often, but let yourself know that everyone else is doubting themselves. Even the leaders at the very top. At the ALC meeting, we had a few leaders actually start to break down some crazy stories, but they said, hey, look, if we're having it, our very intense people are having, this challenge, know what everyone you're leading is also having these challenges, and reach out and let everyone know we're all in this together.
Yeah. And to Robert's point, look, everyone here knows me. I'm, the Energizer Bunny, and just keep going relentlessly. I mean, we're all impacted by our environment. As I look at Beverly Hills and Cannon Drive this second and how dead it is, I'm impacted by that. That affects me. Like that makes me not quite as driven as I ultimately would be. And all the more important to be around people like you guys, where we lift each other up, we're connected, we hold each other accountable, whether it's, obviously typically via Zoom. It's really important to stay connected, to find your tribe, so to speak, to find your environment and push one another. Like it's critical, because we're all impacted by that. And there is as Robert said, a dulling, and it's the holiday season, which typically is pretty uplifting, and that helps a little bit, but it's pretty dead out there. Let's get real. So we've got to create our own energy, and that gets enhanced when you're in the right environment, around the right people that are pushing each other up, and keeping that mindset and having a routine. I think it's critical. So great point, Robert. I'm going to jump into this.
Can I chime in real quick, Josh?
Yeah, Austin, fire away. Yep.
Both your points about finding your tribe. I also find it very beneficial for me to have several tribes, right? So yeah, like Robert had said, I mean, the ALC, we talk with each other and we Zoom with each other every single week. That's one of my tribes, and I get tremendous value and energy from them. I also have my family, right? So I have my Cub Scouts tribe with my son, and that's another source of great energy and well-being. So it's important for me, at least, to have multiple tribes. So I encourage you, if you don't have a tribe, get a tribe. If you have one tribe, try to get more, because again, we're going to live through this for a very long time, guys. We already have, so it's not going to change, right? You just need that kind of, at least I do, I need that kind of energy, and the variety helps me tremendously.
And I'll throw another tribe in there, and it is our power session every Monday and Wednesday. And quite frankly, what David alluded to with Steve Scholl, who I don't know, but I've heard nothing but great things about, like there is tremendous value and power in our power sessions on mindset. Like, I don't care what anyone says. It's selfishly, I do it for me. I mean, it's even though I sort of run them, that's what keeps me motivated, on track, structured. So I really encourage people that don't participate on that regular, that is absolutely another tribe, and it will help you majorly on the mindset piece. Every Monday and Wednesday, 9 a.m. I assure you, it will not fall short. Believe me.
And we're starting another dissection of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book with a lot of insights. That's starting shortly, so join in on that too.
Absolutely. We're going to do on the next team meeting, we're going to do an overview of that this coming Tuesday. And then starting the first week in January on a weekly basis, we're going to be doing basically an MREA book club driven by the ALC. And I really, whether you've read it once, never, or 10 times, read it again. It's tremendously powerful, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. All right. So I'm going to go on to this next one, which is a little bit about, how do you balance, especially with those that have families and little ones at home, how do you balance family and business while working from home? Because most of you guys, and we have a number of people that are in the office, but the vast majority are working at home. So what does that look like for you guys? Like, how are you managing that? What are your challenges? What do you feel like is working? We've alluded to some of that as in this conversation, but who wants to give us their thoughts and perspective on that?
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Josh, you're always talking about environment matters, and that applies to our individual workspaces as well. And I'm sure I'm like everybody else that in the beginning, when we first shut down in March and April, I'm married and we have a daughter, and everyone's at home, and we're trying to figure out. I remember Michael Rosales, you made fun of me because I was sitting in my daughter's room on the floor for our first ALC meeting, and that was the backdrop. And then we got into the routine of my wife is now in the living room. We have her office set up there, and I'm in my office, and my daughter's in her room, and then we flip. I was in my wife's place earlier today, and then she had to make calls. I'm sure everybody's gotten into that rhythm, but you just kind of have to do it. You have to create a space for yourself where you can shut the door physically or metaphorically, so you can make your calls and not worry about, am I being too loud? Is anybody listening or whatnot? You just have to create that space and have it be the workspace. Everyone's situation is different. If it can be a place that is, not the dining room table. So, hey, I'm working right now, and then 5 minutes later, I'm going to have my meal at the same place. And, now I'm back to work. There's no sort of separation. I think if you can have a little bit of, and if you can't, then just figure out a way to make it feel like this is different. You know, this is work time. Whether you're putting on your uniform, you're putting on your suit and tie, like David said, or you're, you know, like I can't make calls if I'm barefoot. I have to have fancy shoes on, but I have to have sneakers on. And as I've said 1,000 times, I've only worn pants one time in like the past 10 months. I'm always wearing shorts, but I have to be in a certain mode to make phone calls, you know? So wherever you're working, you have to kind of match that to fit whoever you are, I think. So that's what I've done here. That's what we've done.
Structure. Like, I'm always a big believer in set yourself up for success, right? And as Gary Keller would say, build a bunker. So what does that metaphorically mean for you? Do you have a space where you're limited with distractions, right? Be smart, set yourself up for success, create some sort of environment that allows you to be focused and purposeful and effective and efficient. And again, that's unique to everyone.
I found there's outside noises outside my own house. So I had to go out and get speakers, turn them down a little bit low to keep that distraction away. I found with a almost 3-year-old, I had to let him know that I'm going to the office and put on a suit and go. And I also would tell him, hey, look, if I get this listing, we're going to have a ice cream party. And so I have to go, once I get a listing, go with him and have a lollipop or something. And, you know, I take the time out because I told him I would. And so I'm committed to that extra thing. And I'm hoping he'll start saying, hey, Dad, go get another listing. Go get another listing. Let's have a party. So I try to incorporate the family into it. The wife definitely understands when I go into the office, the home office, I'm working. Yep. And now the son says, the 2-year-old says, hey, Daddy's in the office.
Love it. Yeah.
Still banging on the door sometimes.
Right? That's called being smart and engaging everyone else in your environment. So you're swimming downstream and not upstream, right? There's enough.
It is harder at home. It is harder. Yeah. It's harder.
Anyone else, like homeschooling, anyone want to speak about that? Like, I know there's several of you that are, yeah, Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something. I mean, really kudos to you guys with small kids and working from home. I don't know how you do it. It's impossible. But I have something to share. I have a 21-year-old and a 25-year-old that for a very short amount of time during summer, we were all working from home at the beginning of the pandemic. And I just want you guys with small kids to know they are watching you. So you are the biggest example during this time that, you know, it doesn't matter what you tell them how to live their lives. This is like the biggest school for them. Like, they watch you, how you handle yourselves during stress, during pandemic with a client. And I had that experience talking to a client and thinking that I'm in my bedroom talking to a client, but my, 2 kids were working, and I have a small place anyways. But apparently they were overhearing me and the way I was talking to a client. And, when I came back to the living room, they were both kind of like at awe. It was a conflicted situation and how I handled it. And it ended up, thank God, nice and beautifully. But they commented, they said, Mom, good for you. And I'm like thinking nobody's listening to what I'm doing in my bedroom. But just so that you guys know, they're watching and they're listening and they're hearing and they're going to learn from you guys.
Powerful point. Spot on. Love it. Who else? Any other moms that like want to speak about maybe some of the challenges that they're having, or with homeschooling or any of that? Anyone want to? It doesn't have to be moms either, by the way.
I was going to say, on the opposite side of the coin, I have 200-pound dogs and 2 teenagers, so I tell people right up front, I found that people are much more understanding and acceptable, and my dogs seem to bark at everything. So I just tell them, I've got 200-pound dogs, and you're probably going to hear them during this conversation. That just kind of warmed up the conversation, because we're like, oh, what kind of dogs do you have? And then I'm like, do you have any dogs? What kind do you have? And it really warms up the entire conversation. So when the dogs bark, it's like no big deal, but it also helps the entire conversation, and it's been actually really positive.
Yeah.
And you're human, which is adorable.
Yep. Authenticity, baby.
The worst
I
is
agree
when
with that too.
the gardener comes. That's the worst.
Yeah.
It is the worst.
I had to bring my 2-year-old to a showing on Saturday. I was going to double in. It didn't work out with the buyer, but my 2-year-old was very charming, luckily, even though he was being very difficult in my eyes. And they loved it. And I think I have a buyer out of it for, hopefully we'll buy something else. But leaning into it is kind of the way to go and being authentic. We're all in the same boat at this point.
Yep.
So are you bribing him? Are you telling him you're going to give him a reward for behaving? It's unpredictable with a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I had all sorts of toys and snacks on my person they were being doled out as needed. Even that wore out, trust me. But even when it did, and he started to abuse me physically, they still thought it was cute. So that was good.
Yeah, I just told my wife, take 20 small snacks and be handing them out as you go.
Yep. It's like a puppy.
Anyone else on the home front?
I'll add one other thing, Josh. Obviously we're going on 9 months now, 10 months of this. You don't have to do anything, but it's not a bad idea just to kind of mix it up a little bit. For the month of November, we were back and forth to the desert. We rented a place there and came back when I needed to, and we isolated out there just to have a change of scenery. And it really does recharge what you're doing. So if you have that ability, it doesn't have to be big. I don't mean, fly to Hawaii or go to Paris or whatnot, because you can't, or who wants to, but do the little things that are still safe and healthy to break up the monotony of.
And also, I feel like a lot of us have been working hard these last 9 months. So this is the holiday season. So it's not saying take your foot off the gas pedal, but try to spend time, maybe take the afternoon off or do something, with your significant other, family, kids, dogs, because we would be going to holiday parties all the time and we would be doing all that fun stuff, which is not really happening. So try to make it and make it so your mindset is going to be there come January.
Yeah. I always talk about sustainability. Make sure whatever your plan is, it's sustainable. And part of that is having time that you take to recharge, refresh, reflect. And that's unique for everyone, depending upon how hard you've been going. And that's but if you really have been, it's critical to take that time. I'll be frank with you. I'm like, somewhat burnt out. I mean, I've been going relentlessly the whole time. And we are going to take at least a long weekend and go to Arizona. And to Howie's point, I need a change of scenery or something, because I need to, just recharge my battery a little bit and just see something new, So I do think that that's critically important. And that's, know what that looks like for you guys and make sure you factor that into your life and your world. Really important.
I did the same thing when I was in the desert that I do here. I mean, I was working there the whole time. Yeah. It's just doing it in a different environment kind of makes things feel a little differently.
Yeah. So. All right, with a little bit of time left, I'll change to a completely other topic that I think is pretty interesting. How are you creating urgency with your clients, in times of uncertainty, right? I think that's been a common theme for a lot of us. Like a lot of, typically the uncertainty is, well, I'm just going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see. But what are you guys doing to proactively, if it's appropriate, create urgency such that people are more inclined to transact, assuming you feel like that's the best thing for them?
You need to be a light beacon in this fog. You need to have clarity, and you need to not have doubt. If you have doubt on yourself, it's gonna spill over to your clients. Clearly, the market, the way it is today, is some of the best it's ever been. So if you're going to sell, you need to list your place today. The interesting thing, in the last 5-10 days, again, I've been getting a lot of come list me calls, and they're saying themselves that they believe in the current market that capital gains will go up. So, and this is strongly Democratic celebrities that are saying to me, I need to get my house in the market immediately because I believe capital gains are going to go up. Executive orders are going to be dropped. It's going to change. I want to sell my house now, and I want to move out to that David Martinez ski lodge up in Denver. And the prices there are very high. but I want to get out of LA and move on. So I'm getting those type of calls where people have their own urgency, but clearly we know today the market is the best. It's been in a long while. Life is unfair. Let's make it unfair in your favor and get the place sold quickly. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. It could be up or down. We just don't know. But we know right now, today, it's one of the best markets to sell your place. And if you're with a buyer, it's incredibly low interest rates. So it's good on both sides, which is rare in a real estate market. And we are one of the few groups that is working, and we're still employed, thankfully.
Which gets back to what Robert, another way of saying what Robert just said, be informed, understand the dynamics of the market. So you can create opportunity for your clients depending upon where they are and where they want to go. If you don't have that information and you're not well informed, then you're not going to be someone that's going to instill confidence and trust in them. Michael, were you going to say something?
I was going to say 9 months into this, a lot of people are having babies and they need to move into bigger places. So it's just a fact. I mean, I have clients right now, they needed to sell, they're having a baby. So actually my last 2 clients were pregnant clients. So. Wow. Love it.
There's going to be
I had the pregnant ones too.
21 babies.
Yep.
A lot of people at home. And
yep.
A lot of enjoyable lunch hours, I imagine.
I think it's important when we're talking to our clients, it's everything that Robert said, which is to basically educate them if they're not aware that even though, in spite of how serious things are in the world, and they're very serious, the market is actually very strong and doing very well. And now is a great time because of low inventory, because of low interest rates. However, we also, as part of that equation, as part of that conversation, we need to balance and remind them how safe we're being throughout the whole process. Because people are going to say, I don't want to sell my house. I don't want people coming through. I don't want them touching my stuff. Remind them that we're not doing open houses. We're only showing to pre-qualified, pre-approved buyers. It's not in mass. We're cleaning between showings.
Michael Berlin, KW Inglewood, broker. I have a compliance question.
Michael, I think that's you.
So just keep that in mind, because sometimes buyers or sellers want to be involved, but they're also concerned about how the process works. So just remind them of the safety issues that we're taking to get them into the marketplace.
Yeah, and just a very basic point. What may seem obvious to you or us may not be so obvious to our clients.
That's a good point.
Even though we're being safe, it still does increase their risk. And if they're like, I have clients that just, I called them and they're like, weird, we were just looking at all the stuff you've been sending us recently about prices and talking, but they're older and they are just absolutely terrified. And I wouldn't want to increase their risk, because if they got COVID, it would be very, very bad.
Yep.
So one thing, Kelly, that I have done with my clients is I would go to the property, I would do FaceTime with them. If I have listing and I get a call that people are unsure of coming by, I would offer myself there, going through the property, although I have 3Ds, but I would make myself available either way for people who are uncomfortable actually stepping into a property or coming for a showing.
Well, they're sellers. I mean, they want to sell, but they're really nervous right now.
Right. I have those, and I don't push one way or another.
I don't push at all, because I know,
no, I would not. I would not push like that for sellers who are uncomfortable, because
the COVID, everybody's getting it. What are we having? A lot of new cases every day. So I think, like Biden said, it's going to get worse before it gets better right now. Just because we have a vaccine, we see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm afraid for people. Luckily all my buyers are very, very careful, and we're very respectful, and we bring gloves and we don't touch anything. But for older people, I just get so, nervous, and these agents and certain agents are the house on lockbox, and just, there's no oversight whatsoever. God knows who's going in there. It just, that freaks me out. Appointment only. Well, to me, an appointment means there's an agent going to greet you. Because if there's only supposed to be 2 people and the agent, but nobody's there all day, and the appointments are being set by some showtime, there's no, unless you have hidden cameras, there's no way to know. So I think that's very risky. You could
it comes back to like knowing your client and asking questions and understanding their sensitivities, because it's not one size fits all at all. That's the whole, that's the whole point of service, right? I mean, go ahead.
Going other than the health issues and the pandemic issues, though, going back, I mean, if somebody is nervous and all of that, that's a separate story. But, you know, I always would take back the buyer or the seller to the initial call that I got from them and their whys. Why was it that they wanted to buy? Why was it that they wanted to sell? You know, because, you know, when time goes by, you know, they talk to different people, they're fed different information, but I always try to get them back to, you wanted an extra bedroom. That's why you're looking to buy, or you're trying to sell because you don't want to deal with this particular property anymore. Like the initial reason that you get, you know, I've gotten the call, I take him back there. So, and it's been successful.
Yep. What, anything else on that front? Like how are you creating urgency in the right circumstances in these obviously interesting times?
Well, I have a lot of buyers right now, and I'm just like flat out, you have to send me your pre-approval letter. I need proof of funds. I know you want to go see it Friday, but it's Wednesday and we have to go either today or tomorrow, or you're going to lose it in multiple offers and it's going to go $800,000 over the list price. So be prepared. We're going to write an offer right away. You know, like I'm just telling them, I'm like, I don't mean to scare you, but the reality is right now is that if you think the property is beautiful and I look at it and I see the comps, even if I'm like, oh, there's no comps saying that this is going to sell for a 2.2, you know, or a penny over 2 million. It doesn't matter because everyone's writing all cash. Everyone's writing, you know, way over the list price. I've lost out on like 4 offers and I never lose on offers. I haven't in 17 years and I'm not used to it. And I haven't slept in 3 days because I'm like, what alternate universe did I just land in? It's just horrible. And it's like, I look for the comps, I'm like, I see nothing, but let's just write, I mean, for everything you have, like, it doesn't matter. Like there's no little tiny 900 square foot homes listed at 625 are going for 685 in Van Nuys. Like Sherman Oaks, $1.8 million is selling for 2.5, although there are no comps. It's
So that's how I interpret that, Kelly. It's real simple. Kelly's in action, in motion, writing offers, having the conversations, and that's what's going to keep you well informed. So
it's really good. And when I get a listing, it's really good. I know exactly what I need to do. Everyone needs to do their SBQ and transfer disclosure immediately before everything is uploaded. I'm going to recommend everyone do a general inspection. Because everything going fast and furious, we've got to be clean. We've got to be clean. We've got to make sure, because people are going in on their emotions. And then the poor agents, or some agents that are just doing it so sloppy without being there and anything. And they're like, no more flaky buyers. And I'm like, well, how about an agent to actually show the house, you know, because buyers are going in really emotionally. I can't lose out. I can't lose out. And they're buying homes and finding out that there's problems because, you know, even a new construction can have problems and crazy stuff is happening. And, you know, these buyers, they get really emotional. My buyers are really sad.
Kelly's hitting a good point. The sellers and the buyers are more emotional, the more sensitive. We have to do a lot more white glove, or they expect us to respond a lot quicker. There is a lot more work. I describe it during COVID as if we're normally running a marathon, but now we're running a marathon in mud. That's the new normal.
I agree. I'm so busy. When a house comes on the market, my clients are in such a panic. I'm signing PEDs. I'm just docu-signing PEDs. I must have docu-signed 300 PEDs in the last 2 weeks. Just constantly, even if I don't know if they like the house, I'm like, sign all of these. because I'll be like emailing, because if we go on its date, it's been on the market 5 days, it's done. They have 17 offers.
And this is going back to what I was saying about speed. Speed can get you a place or not.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a difference.
And so
Whether it's a listing or a buyer.
Yeah, they're really emotional, and it's a lot of work because like I didn't get back to my buyer. I had, you know, like I think I had therapy or something. I was like, I'm going crazy. And I didn't get back to him right away. And like maybe it was 2 hours. And he was like, did I do something wrong? I mean, I was like, God, no, I was in therapy. I'm crazy, you know, and they get really sensitive. So it's right now, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it comes back to like, again, well-informed, be prepared, which is what you're doing, and be proactive. That's what's going to create value for your clients. I mean, and they're going to recognize that, and that's what's going to distinguish you. So that's critical. And
yeah, and this is a learning opportunity.
Yep.
You know, this is a learning opportunity where we all have to, you know, understand and educate our clients and be as direct as possible with love, but really direct.
Yep.
So it's you know, it's good. I just can't wait till everyone's vaccinated. I can't, you know, and we can like have an open house, because at least that's controlled chaos and you get to see everybody. And, you know, you can have like the home inspection report on docs, and it's just because I'm used to being a listing agent and getting multiples, but I'm used to like back in the day in 2006 and 7 and 8 when it was crazy and then it was going up and the multiples, repping buyers, you can get your offer accepted, but now it's like the values, I don't know, this big, 900 square feet,
yeah.
That's Van Nuys. I mean, I just don't understand it.
That's a tough price point. That's a hard price point.
Oh my God, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I told them their best, smartest move is to be in the best neighborhood in the worst house. So like, we're going to have to go, I mean, how much smaller can you get? 900 square feet is pretty tiny. So it's heartbreaking. And even people who are like, I'm pre-approved. I have another couple, I'm showing a house pre-approved up to 3 million, but we don't want to go above like 2.3. They saw a house for 2.5. And I'm like, you know, you're probably gonna have to pay more. It's beautiful than 2.5. So I'm going to show them on Friday. I know this house is going to sell close to 3. It might even sell for 3 million.
What are they looking for?
Mid-century modern, 3 and 2. They don't want to do any work. They're not in the mood. They're busy working. They have like very high pressure jobs.
Can I ask a general question? And it kind of builds on the whole scenario Kelly's just been talking about in terms of going to showings and it's crazy and whatnot. Are any of you guys or what do you think of when you go to showings and the listing agent has set up the showings literally every 15 minutes, 1-5, meaning you have to be in and you have to be out, which for my money is not enough time to see a house.
If it's little, I mean, 900 square feet, you can see it in like 7 minutes, because let's face it, that's little. So we just have been videotaping everything that when they have that, we've come across a lot of those. So we just videotape it and then we stand outside and look at the video. So 2 blocks away.
Right.
I find, Howie, that the people aren't on time. They're half an hour off. So when that's happened on the listings I've had, it's first come, first serve. I have a second agent outside holding people back with distancing. It's a little bit more organized. It upsets me when there's one agent running something like that and it's totally disorganized. So I would say if you're doing that, at least have 2 agents or an assistant or something, or someone helping you organize it, because it doesn't always flow the way you want it to. So yeah, it's mixed.
I don't do it on the listing side. When I do listings, I even a condo, I'll give a half an hour-ish, half an hour to 45 minutes between showings, because I want them to like it. I want them to stand there and talk about where they're going to put their stuff. And then I had buyer showings with my buyers over the weekend, and the agent was very specific. There's 15-minute intervals, And it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's enough time. And I think
I let the buyers stay in as much as they want, and the other ones will just have to wait till they came out. I try not to pressure anyone myself.
You're also supposed to leave time to disinfect everything in between showings. So I don't know how you do that in 15 minutes.
You don't, not when they're back to back.
Right.
You right.
That's right.
Yeah. I call Michael Rosales and I complain.
I'm still reminiscing about your child's bedroom.
In the interest of time, we're going to wrap this up very shortly. I want to give it one final, one final opportunity for anyone with any comments, any questions. I think this has been I hope, very productive and valuable on a whole different number of levels. If nothing else, just reconnecting everyone. Anyone, comments, questions?
I just want to make a quick comment again. It seems in the last 7 to 10 days, the listings are coming. So just be aware of that. I'm sure it's not just random for me. Put your antennas up and just take those listings. They seem to be coming in right now.
Yep. And I'll leave it with one last note. Of course, as we said, these are the holidays. It's a great time to be grateful, to be thankful. Happy Hanukkah in an hour or so to all of our Jewish friends here. And Christmas is right around the corner. Take time, spend time with your families, but also recognize that there is a lot of opportunity out there, to Robert's point and all of our points. So, and it's a great opportunity to get your unfair share. As we started this thing, collectively, I want to make sure we get our unfair share, and there's tremendous opportunity out there. So don't lose sight of that either. Create that right balance, and stay safe, stay healthy. We're going to be sending out Christmas holiday cards shortly. We're not going to be having, as you can imagine, a holiday party, but we are going to be contributing and donating a sizable amount of money to the LA Food Bank. And once we're in a better position, we're going to celebrate like you've never seen. So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, just grateful for all of you guys, and just stay safe, stay healthy, and make it happen.
Looking forward to that, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate all of you guys.
Thank you.
Be well.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.